Well, kia ora koutou katoa, and mihi ki tēnei wānanga. I'm David Downs, and really excited today on this Tech Week program to be able to talk to Glenn, who's the CEO and Managing Director at Ike GPS. Well, kia ora, Glenn. Welcome back to New Zealand, even if only virtually. Where are you calling it from?
Kia ora, David. No, it's nice to be here with you. I'm in Boulder, Colorado, which is where Ike is headquartered in North America.
And is that where Mork and Mindy was filmed? Am I right?
Yes, we're like a 7-iron away from Mork and Mindy's house.
Gee.
So that's probably the claim to fame.
Forget the interview. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about 70s TV, for those where Mork and Mindy's 70s TV show. Anyway, why are you based there? I mean, you're obviously a New Zealander. You're running a company that's well known as being a Kiwi company. Why Boulder?
We're the technology was founded in New Zealand, and our customers are here in North America. So we serve the United States, North American electric utility and communications market. We help those customers build their networks faster and create a digital twin of their networks. So this is our customers, and we have from day one we've sold into the North American marketplace. So it was a natural place for us to establish.
Brilliant. Well, let's go back a bit though, because those who haven't heard about Ike, or IKE, or Icky, or Ike, or whatever, let's talk a little bit about this business that you run and tell us about your history. Where did it start?
So the origins of Ike were our technology founder built a data capture device actually for the United States Army Corps of Engineers, and it helped them do engineering work in post-war environments. And my background is in the telecommunications sector, and I've been involved in some European telco businesses building networks, and just understood some of the challenges involved in putting overhead networks into place. And so, look, we took some really bright people in Wellington. It started in wasn't in a garage, it was in a bedroom in Wellington. And we just set about building a software business focused on helping networks get built faster. And so it's been a journey for us. And from day one, we've sold here into the US marketplace. So it's been it's been a lot of fun.
How long has that journey been? You know, is it a rapid? Are you a 3-year-old company, a 20-year-old company?
I think there are sort of two evolutions of the business, David.
Right.
And we actually listed on the NZX as almost a pre-revenue hardware company in 2014. And here we are, 9 years later. We're dual listed now on NZX and ASX. And but again, completely centered here in North America. We've still got an incredible team of software engineers and finance people based in Wellington, New Zealand, but 75 of our 100 people are based in here in North America.
It's amazing. Yeah, it's amazing. And it's obviously been a bit of a journey. You sort of talk about a 2-phase thing, the pivot, or the two stages of the growth of the business. What are the key lessons that you learned from those early days?
Well, it takes persistence and a real understanding of customers and customer requirements. So I think it's really easy to look at a desirable business model. So everyone wants to have recurring revenue and lock in customers long term through a software as a service offering. I think it's the second thing to actually build the software that's really useful to customers so that they want to buy it and want to lock in to your workflow. And that takes, for the electric utility market, these are the biggest infrastructure companies on the planet. They're very risk averse and they're very slow to move. So you need to have a lot of patience and a sense of humor to sell into this market. But once you're in there, it's a really fabulous market environment, because you can have customers for the rest of your life if you serve them well and do a good job for them. So it's a hard market to enter, but it's a really sticky one once you're.
let's come back to the market, because I just realized we should probably explain to everyone what your product does, because it's sounding pretty cool. You know, you're some US Army Corps of Engineers, you know, based out of the US now, obviously got GPS in the title. But can you give us the sort of dummy's guide to what the tech is?
Right. So we help, if you imagine a distribution power pole or a distribution power network. So these are the power poles that sit in residential streets in New Zealand and here in the United States. We help companies design those assets so that they're built to a really high standard of engineering, and they meet regulatory requirements. And we help to speed up the process to build that network and to digitize the records of their network. And so it's a highly unglamorous sector. But the interesting thing is there's 230 million distribution assets here in the North American market, and aging infrastructure, a lot more storm events with climate change and fire events, etc. And so we sort of help to make sure networks are built better, and we keep our customers safe when they're doing it.
That's great. So your customers are utilities, local councils or local bodies, that sort of thing?
Yeah, and also the communications companies. So AT&T, Crown Castle, the folk building fiber and broadband and 5G networks are also standardizing on our software to do that.
And so it's a mixture of software and hardware, is it? Because obviously there's a hardware component to it, but you sell as a SaaS product.
Yeah, we've got 3 software products. One of them has a hardware component. About 95% of our revenue today is software centric, and that's been the real transition that we've made. I guess over the last 8 or 9 years.
Yeah, a lot of people who are watching this, I suppose, that's kind of the holy grail, is to move to a recurring revenue models from the more traditional software models. I guess what have you learned along the way of doing that, making those sorts of shifts and getting that kind of SaaS business going?
Yeah, it's a much better model once you get there, David, as you know, because you don't have to wake up every morning and sell more one-time, sales or more one-time sort of hardware item. It recurs, and particularly for our customer base, they grow and grow users over time. So it's a much more desirable and high value model. I think the tricky thing is building a software product and also a business model that is conversant with how your customers do business. So part of what we do in our business model is our usage multiplier. It's not just software seats. It's also, we call it transaction revenue. And a lot of our customers, they do business for every asset that they engineer. They call that a transaction. So we clip the ticket on transactions, not just software users.
Oh, sounds like a cool business model, and it obviously works for both parties. The customers are coming to you, which is great, but it gives you that like continuous growth by the sound of it. So
yeah, again, it hasn't happened overnight, but we're now we're growing strongly now. We'll be we listed, I think, 9 years ago at about $1 million of revenue, and we're at 30 million plus now in terms of run rates, and hopefully keeping on going from here. And at the same time, we're creating this center of excellence in software engineering in New Zealand around asset design and structural analysis for power infrastructure. So it's really niche, and it's not very celebrated, but it's a really big industry requirement.
Solid business. Yeah, you talk about the listing, because that's really interesting that you went to the public for money in 2 markets, dual listed. What was driving that? Do you feel like it was a good decision retrospectively, and dual listing? What's behind the logic there? Let's talk through the financing.
Well, you know this side of things better than I do, David. I think if you go back to 2013, 2014, in the New Zealand market context, there was a really limited amount of expansion capital. It's a very different story today. It's a really vibrant seen in terms of venture capital and expansion capital. 9 years ago, it was really hard to raise $5, $10, $15 million to take a company to the next level. And the public markets opened up for a short time in 2014. It was sort of off the back of Xero getting some proof points, and everyone got really excited about technology. And we were fortunate. We had great backing from Forsyth Barr, who were a really brilliant partner for us, and we managed to IPO at that point.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we were almost pre-revenue. It's quite hard to forecast at that point. You're going to grow, but it's hard to know exactly how fast. And so anyway, that gave us the impetus to build the North American business and do all the things that we've done today. The second part of that was we were fortunate to be able to dual list on the ASX, and that's a really simple process as a NZX listed company to do a dual listing on ASX. It's really cost efficient, time efficient, and it gives access to just this massive pool of capital. ASX is I think it's the 5th or 6th largest capital market in the world, and they get right behind growth initiatives. So we've been lucky to have good backing in both exchanges.
Yeah. Wasn't a time back. I remember going to a seminar that Rod Jury ran at Xero about their listing process, and that just one seminar seemed to kick off about 5 listings over the subsequent year or two. Not successful, frankly. I mean, some probably had a bit of a rush of blood to the head and went a bit early, and there was a few walls on a few of the others. But you guys have been very successful from out of the back of that, by the look of it.
Oh yeah, it hasn't been a straight line, but we've been, I think, broadly fortunate. And being a public company, it makes you grow up really fast in terms of reporting, accountability, systems, team, etc.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't necessarily go as early again, but for us at the time, there were very few other opportunities other than, the other opportunity for us was to be sold into an offshore buyer. And get a return to our early stage investors that way. And, hopefully we're building a really long-term business out in New Zealand.
Yeah, I'm glad you didn't sell. I mean, selling's an option for some, but it sounds like you're building. You see the potential of excellence, technology excellence here still in New Zealand. Tell us about then how you run the business, the sales, marketing, customer success type stuff in the US, and then the engineering in New Zealand. Is that how it's working?
Yeah, more or less. We've got a great artificial intelligence software team based here in Colorado, but otherwise all of our really clever software people are in Wellington, New Zealand. So we're lucky to have a great team there.
Fantastic. How do you, you personally running the business that's straddling both sides of the Pacific and then looking after customers, etc. How do you personally work? Did you end up doing very long days, traveling a lot? How does it work running a multinational New Zealand tech company?
Oh, I mean, it's fun and it's stimulating, and it's a lot of travel, and we cover the whole of the North American market. We've got 5 of the 10 largest electric utilities in the country, and 7 of the 10 largest communications companies, and we're only a 100-person business, serving these massive infrastructure companies. So we pretend to be, you've got to pretend to be quite a lot bigger than you are. But we've got a great team now, and I think that helps a lot. I mean, it's one of the scaling up things that you have to deal with as you go from 10 people to 20 to 50 to is you're constantly just upgrading the team, and we've got a lot of depth now in terms of capability, so it helps a lot. And then we've got the capital markets and investor relations side that requires work and attention, but it's really stimulating stuff. We've enjoyed the relationships we've built with the investors.
Fantastic. Do your customers see you? It's fine, mate. I think we should just keep your customers, or do you sort of put on an American accent when you go and visit them? How do they see your kind of country of origin?
Yeah, great question. We learned the hard way. Um, these American infrastructure companies want to buy from an American technology company, and so I think it's incredibly powerful if you're presenting a food product or something of that nature to be of New Zealand origin. It does not help in our sector. So we present as a United States business, and yeah, I try my best badly to tweak the accent for that reason.
But why do you think that is? Is it a really buy local mentality, or is it they just don't know New Zealand and don't know tech from New Zealand?
Look, I think the reality is, if you go to Silicon Valley now, it's completely internationally focused, and they couldn't care less where technology is coming from and where consumer tech products are coming from, etc. If you go to other parts of the United States and you're dealing with Southern electric utilities and some of those East Coast groups, and in the Midwest, etc., they truly want to understand that you're local and you're going to be there, right there with them. But a big part of our sales process and support process, David, is having experts on site available,
right,
to make sure that they're successful with our technology. So the New Zealand thing, typically you would go in and people will say, New Zealand's on my bucket list. I really want to go there, and I love this place, etc. And then they'll go and buy from an American alternative. So we certainly position, which is true. We're a US headquartered business with US team, etc. So it's not a part of the selling proposition.
Yeah, it's hard to shake that accent that you got there. So they must see you as a little bit.
That's right. No, I mostly hand it off to more qualified Americans. Yeah,
nice one. So tell us about your career. I mean, you found yourself now at the head of a publicly listed company, doing extremely well, growing well. What's your journey been like to get here, and how do you sort of think about your leadership journey?
I'm not sure. I think it's been a lot of luck. I mean, a lot of company building is around timing and market timing and being in the right place at the right time, and that can be good luck rather than good management. But my journey's always been trying to be part of growth companies. Started in big enterprise telco, and I was involved with Jenny Morrell and a venture capital group in New Zealand, all the scars. Yeah, exactly. But all the fun and enjoyment of trying to build things from scratch. So, like anything, isn't it? It's about trying to bring a good team around an idea and be very sort of persistent and patient.
And on that journey, I guess, because we're talking to someone who's pretty experienced, what's your sort of top 2 or 3 tips that you would tell your younger self about your leadership journey?
Oh, gee, I mean, I'm not sure. I learned so much. And David, we were talking before I think we were on film about those early Morgo conferences, which you were a part of, and just learning from people that had really stuck their necks out and done it at that time. As a company, we work really hard on learning and development. We try to focus on a lot of best practice. You don't need to reinvent any of that stuff. Growing a company, scaling a company is based on science. It's not art. And I think a lot of the historical view of scale ups was it was some sort of art. I really don't think it is. And I mean, otherwise, yeah, it's just persistence and some luck. Being in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, I think you're glossing over some skills that you brought to the table as well, and obviously the team that you've built around you. But it is good. I think your key point there, which I completely agree with, is learning from others. We're so lucky now here in New Zealand, but New Zealand companies even abroad, that we have got exemplars of growth. Back in the day, and not even long ago, there weren't that many you could look to learn from, and now there's plenty of good, successful businesses that you can watch.
I agree, and folk are happy to share it as well in terms of their views and experiences. So it's a pretty amazing ecosystem that I think the whole kind of broader New Zealand team has been part of building up. It's probably just going to keep going up and up from here. I would assume.
Fantastic. Well, that's a good place to leave it. This is a great addition to Tech Week. This is the Tech Week in New Zealand, where we talk about all things tech and celebrate businesses like yours. And a great reflection there is that there are so many people in the ecosystem around us who are very willing to help, who share their time and knowledge very freely, like you have today, Glenn. So thank you very much for joining us. Ka kite anō.